Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Talking Niagara this morning. We are here as we are every weekday morning, 7 a.m., with all the news that impacts the Niagara area. Morning, Mike. Good morning, Mike. There you go. I knew it was you, Mike. So there we go. Okay.
Mike, hi, Mike.
So this weekend, there were supposedly millions protesting across the USA. And they couldn't all be the same person. Um, right? They couldn't all be the same person replicated across the country because you couldn't be in all places at the same time. One of the biggest demonstrations occurred in Boston, Massachusetts, and the mayor there called it in this city of champions, the city of immigrants and workers. It's a hub of the universe and cradle of liberty for the last 250 years and counting. In Boston, every day is No King's Day. All right.
Yeah, of course, we're talking about the No Kings rally. Yeah. President Trump said it would hardly have anyone show up. There was 100,000 people right just in the middle of Times Square. This was a demonstration. They say it's probably the largest demonstration in American history. 7 million people across the nation demonstrated in any major and minor city. There was demonstrations here in Canada and in Europe as well, and in support of that. and the Republicans called it the Hate America demonstration, that it was going to be nothing but the Hamas wing and the communist wing and the Antifa wing. Johnson could not even call it the No Kings. He wouldn't even express it as the No Kings. Everybody else said it was going to be a complete and total disaster for Republicans. And I guess Donald Trump hit his head for most of for the whole thing. So, it was tremendous success. It was, I don't know how much good it's going to do, because Trump hasn't managed to push his administration a little bit more authoritative every day. It seems a little bit more. I don't know whether or not these it's going to work, but yeah, and according to Carolyn Levitt, the Democratic constituency is, and I think it's Hamas. How did she put it? I think she called Hamas illegal aliens and violent criminals.
Yeah, one of the things though is Trump has threatened to relocate the 2026 World Cup games that are due to take place in Boston, as he said, out of safety concerns. And he says, I love the people of Boston. I know the games are sold out, but your mayor is not good. So in reality, he's talking about we're going to take the games away from you, but actually you can't, because I don't think, and as much as I'd like to see them move, I'd like to see them move away from the US. The impossibility of doing so at this time is problematic.
Well,
and Boston's not a football city.
I don't know. And FIFA was going to exclude Israel because
Israel
I never really agreed with that very much. They've excluded Russia. They've excluded Russia because of what they did to the Ukraine, and they were on their way to exclude Israel from the FIFA. But I think they thought better of it because Trump made a big noise about that, and Israel just about rules the United States.
and it's doubtful that Israel will qualify anyway.
Yeah, but if they did, there was that business, they would be shut out. But I don't know. I don't believe in shutting out athletes for political reasons. But
no, I know.
But if you do it for one, you have to do it for the other.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So there were more than 100 demonstrations that took place across Massachusetts, right? And not just the ones in Boston. There were, as you said, millions of people across the country.
Yeah, 7 million people across the nation, and that's New York City was just crammed in the middle. You couldn't put another person in there from the pictures they took. So it was a huge, successful demonstration. Even Mike Johnson later on was forced to congratulate them on having a peaceful demonstration. You get the feeling the Republicans were hoping that some sort of violence would happen, but very little of that had happened. There was a few incidences here and there, but they were isolated and they had nothing to do with
but you get 7 million people together in various locations around the country, and you're gonna get some punch ups and some people who don't like one another coming up against one another, right?
Yeah, very little of that happened. We had no. This thing was supposed to be full of Antifa. The Hamas wing, and like Johnson described it as the Hamas wing and the communist wing and the Antifa wing of the. Like he said that that's what the Democrats were going to produce. He forgets that it wasn't just Democrats; it was everybody. There was Republicans there, Republicans that pined for the days when they were a real party. They were a Republican Party, not the MAGA Party. So there were real Republicans, not MAGA Republicans, obviously. But I doubt that MAGA could have anywhere near a rally that big. And I think that's bumming out.
And the whole point is that
DJT.
Of course, the whole No Kings idea is based upon the fact that, and we're better than Boston in that regard, is based upon the fact that America was founded upon the idea that we would not have a king. We were a democracy. We were a republic.
Yeah, in the Constitution or Declaration of Independence, if you read it, it's mostly about abuse of power by the king and other things like that. It was like it was lengthy. It was one of the best documents ever written in the late Enlightenment and late Enlightenment, as I fear. Like by this time, the Enlightenment was almost 100 years old when they wrote all that stuff, and they were clearly super influenced by guys like, I think John Locke was their number one influencer, Montesquieu and the French philosophes, and I'm sure probably the Scottish philosophes as well. So it is a remarkable document. Very, very, like, no one would have thought that a document of that kind would come from just a sort of offshore bunch of collection of out of the way colonies.
Yeah.
And yet, but people like Alexander Hamilton have warned about a demagogue being able to take over and watering down the government. And that seems to be what's happening right now. Remember, you have the Republicans who will not stand up to the president, except for Rand Paul and Thomas Massey and even Marjorie Taylor Greene. So, it's I don't know how effective it's going to be, because it looks like Trump has plans of fixing the next election by continuing to help red states gerrymander their their electoral regions. But that's the big thing, is the midterms coming up. And if he can fix that election, then he's good to go. He'll get reelected in 2028,
Well, I don't know that he will, actually, because there's no way that he can get around that constitutional amendment.
Well, he's not supposed to be putting the tariffs on, and he is he? All those executive orders that he has on tariffs on Canada because of fentanyl, on other places, they're not legal. That has been clearly pointed out by the courts. It has to go up to the Supreme Court to see how much of what he's doing is actually permissible by the Constitution. Now you have a Supreme Court that's heavily in favor of they're very much lean right, very much right. So it is thought, even with that, a 6-3 split in the Supreme Court, that even at that, they will find some of the tariffs illegal.
Yeah, I think they will, because traditional conservative judges are precisely that, traditional conservatives, not MAGA conservative.
No, but they have the last 3 judges that were appointed by, I think it was 2 or 3 by Trump, seemed
3
to be
by
more.
Trump, yeah. It was 3 by Trump, yeah.
Yeah, they seem to be more swayed by ideology, and that's the problem. As the judges might be ideologues. If they are, they're going to find reasons to support whatever Trump wants. They could be completely vested in the Project 2025 ideology.
Well,
that's the fear.
It's the fear, but it's rare to find judges that are actually like that. And remember, Biden didn't actually put in any Supreme Court judges at all.
No, he didn't. Well, he couldn't.
No, because there was
no vacancies.
Yeah, because
there were no vacancies.
Yeah, they either have to retire or die in office.
Well, yeah, and it was political maneuvering by McConnell to stop Obama from appointing judges and delaying that till Trump got in. So that was political maneuvering. McConnell knew what he's doing. He got Obama was trying to get those judges appointed, or at least one of them. But McConnell will delay things until the Republican president got in. So,
yeah. All right. Anything else to be said in relation to the No Kings protests?
Only that it seems like really bizarre to me. I wake up and I think, have I been dreaming? When somebody like Carolyn Leavitt says the Democratic constituency is made up of Hamas, illegal immigrants, and violent criminals. When Mike Johnson says the demonstration will be Antifa, Hamas, and communists. Seriously, that is what they said. That's like childish gibberish, and yet it is meant to put fear in people, ignorant people. They now ignorant people are looking under their bed for Antifa, around every corner for the boogeyman Antifa. You know what I mean? It's like a left-wing president would have been doing the same thing about the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers. There'd be one of them around every corner. Antifa's not very big. They're out there, but they're tiny and disconnected. I don't think they're going to find too many Antifa people around. This whole idea that George Soros is trying to like the whole demonstration was like right-wing media saying George Soros is the one that's financing all of this, but there's going to be no proof of anything of that kind. and George Soros is like 1,000,000 years old. I think his days of meddling in government is pretty well gone.
Yeah. Well,
and it surprises me. They say George Soros wants to change the world into a communist utopia. George Soros is one of the most successful capitalists of all time. Like, it seems like really odd that he might want to put the country turn it into a communist paradise when he himself has been so successful as a capitalist.
Yeah. Okay. So what some of these demonstrators are carrying, saying about the march, essentially carrying signs that are saying this is what democracy looks like.
It was.
People come out to actually show up and show their support. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Yeah, I hope it's starting to have some effect, because the excesses of the government are a little bit much. Going after political enemies in the courts, bombing boats, not boarding, just bombing them without any proof that they've got anything on them. They might all be drug boats. I doubt very much that there were anything else, but still, just bomb them like that. And you got to remember, some of these guys that are running these boats, I mean, they're hired to do it. They may be poor fishermen or something looking for some extra money to run contraband, and they may be even forced to do it. So they have 2 survivors of this the last Venezuela boat that was, but they didn't arrest them. They arrested them, but they repatriated them. They don't want them to come to the country, to the United States, and go under trial and have revealed what was in the boat and who was there. There's a perfect opportunity to interrogate them and everything, but they didn't. They don't want any these people speaking out in the United States in court.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So Prince Andrew is giving up all his royal titles over the allegations about him being involved with Jeffrey Epstein.
This guy must be stupid. I don't know how he thought he was going to get away with all this stuff. The one victim, I forget her name right now, because I don't follow it that closely, but the one victim's book is going to come up, and she's recently committed suicide. But her
Virginia Guapra. I don't know how to pronounce.
But her name was Dufresne, right?
No, Guapre.
I thought it was Dufresne. Anyway, whatever her name is, I always thought it was Dufresne. But anyway, Prince Andrew got mixed up with Epstein. So did Fergie. So did Fergie, the Duchess of York, or what's her title? Fergie.
Yeah, she was Duchess of York. Yeah.
Yeah. So she got mixed up in this. They were buddies and pals with Epstein. They were like tight with him, borrowing money off of him and all this other stuff. I think
she loses her title as well. So Prince Andrew is still called Prince Andrew, and his daughters Beatrice and Eugene are princesses as well. Sarah Ferguson no longer has a title because she was, of course, not royal anyway. But he loses all other titles to go with him. So, so he's lost. So he received the title Duke of York from his mother, the Queen Elizabeth, and as well as he gives up membership of the Order of the Garter, the oldest, most senior chivalry order of chivalry in Britain.
Yeah. So, yeah, the Order of Garter. Yeah, that goes back to the 1100s, doesn't it?
Yeah, the Order of the Garter. It's really quite old. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it goes right back to the first or second generation of Normans that came over and were ruling England. But
I'm not. I think you're right. I don't know I couldn't tell you the dates. It is ancient. It is ancient for sure. Yeah. And only few people get on it. There's never been that many people alive at any one time that are members that are have a member of the Order of the Garter.
And you got to be very, very brave, because you got to admit to everybody that I'm a man that's wearing a garter.
Okay.
The fact of the matter is, like, he's a nitwit. I saw him when he was about 12 years old in Toronto, and the Queen Mother. I've told that story a few times. But when he jumped out of the limousine and opened up the limousine for the Queen Mum and some other royalty-like looking people as they went to church, and I was only a few feet from them. It was kind of one of the neatest experiences of my life. But anyway, there was Queen Mum, and who would have known that idiot would have been grown up to be a pervert?
And Mike makes a point that a lot of people feel that Prince Andrew should have gone to jail for what he was alleged to do. But in order to go to jail, as you know, you would actually have to prove it in a court of law.
Yeah, I think you should go to jail. I definitely
don't disagree. I don't disagree.
But there's never been any charges put up against him. Basically, he's a perv, and Dufresne or somebody else. Dufresne managed to squeeze money out of him in a lawsuit. So ordinary people don't have vast amounts of money like a prince or something like that. So what they end up doing is making a deal. Whereas, okay, I won't admit to doing any wrong, but I'll give you piles of money if you shut up.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what the deals are. And that's what Prince Andrew does. But because the average person doesn't have the kind of money and time to fight somebody with resources. So they make a deal with them. All right. I'll give you a bunch of money, but I won't admit to doing anything wrong. And so I don't know. And now he cannot hide anymore. These deals cannot insulate him anymore from his behavior. I really believe that the Republicans got to get a backbone and go after the rest of the files, because I think they're going to discover a lot of unseemly characters. The only problem is, and one apparently is a Canadian billionaire. I'd love to find out who that is and make him the most embarrassed person in the world. But there are all kinds of them. Well, we know what these pervs do. Remember, like Weinstein, the producer, the film producer Weinstein. Like, what is it with these guys? They've got money, they got all that. Epstein, he was probably, of course, the hint is he was a Mossad agent, because Maxwell's father was a Mossad agent, so they figured that he was a Mossad agent as well. They got connections with Mossad, FBI, all that other stuff. So the Republicans have been demanding the files all this time. Biden is hiding these from us, and then when they get in, now it's their turn to hide them from the public.
Yeah, I don't know that we'll ever see them. And if we do, it will be too late.
I think they're getting destroyed. I don't think we'll ever see the film of Holman taking $50,000 either. I think somebody's gonna by accident destroyed it.
Yeah. And like Mike is saying, how many country leaders, judges, lawmakers are on that list? Release it.
Yeah, and it's so funny that Patel was demanding the release, insisting that the FBI director has the list and he could release it at any time before he was the director. Once he become a director, it's well, nothing to see here. Pam Bondi, same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna get to the bottom of this. And then when they look into it and they see, presumably Trump's all over it, and he might not be doing anything really bad, but he just the fact that he was in it.
There was a meeting with between Jeffrey Epstein and oh crikey, President Clinton. That's who I was thinking of. And but there was no proof that Clinton did anything wrong.
Yeah. Knowing Clinton, what he was like, it's hard to think that he was going down to Jeffrey Epstein's island. I don't know if he's ever accused of being on the island. Obviously, these guys are hobnobbing.
No, he was on the island.
It was Trump, and it was Clinton, and it was Prince Andrew, and it was
there's proof
that guy, the modeling agency guy, right? They're all down there hobnobbing with Jeffrey Epstein one way or another.
Well, they were. It was true that Clinton was on the island. There's film proof of that. It's been released to the public already, but there's no indication that Clinton was involved in anything untoward.
Well, until the files come out, how are we going to know?
That's true. Yeah.
And Trump seems to be the one that's putting a lid on that. If it was embarrassing to his enemies, he would be all over it. But now he fears it's going to be embarrassing to himself.
Yeah. Well, we know Trump was at the island as well.
I don't know. He claims never to have been at the island, but definitely before the island was created, Jeffrey Epstein had his own place in Florida. We know that Trump is supposed to be his bestie for 10 or 15 years.
Yeah. And remember, that's around the corner, relatively close to Mar-a-Lago.
Well, look, Jeffrey Epstein had all kinds of people. He invited all kinds of people, like guys like Stephen Hawking. He had I don't know, David Copperfield, the magician. Well, you can figure out Copperfield was brought there to entertain the guests. There was probably all kinds of people there, coming there. There may have been a biological, like a science, biology science, looking at the plankton there off the island. He had all kinds of people, of different interesting people. Lutnick said that he was a weirdo right from the get-go. During Lutnick's interview that he had on one of the news stations lately, he talked about how weird Jeffrey was right off from the start. And according to him, he met him once. He lived close to him, and he met him once, got kind of weirded out, and never went back. So you wonder why a lot of these other people wouldn't get weirded out right away. It's kind of interesting. But I think what he did was try to look like a cosmopolitan guy and bring in as many interesting people as he could. And the accusations are that he fished around looking for which ones that he could manipulate and which ones he might be able to find dirt on and blackmail. But in order to do that, you might want to bring in as many interesting people to an area as possible, as kind of a lure to other people. Obviously, everybody that went to Epstein Island and everybody and so many people that were involved with Jeffrey Epstein, not all of them were pervs.
Yeah.
So
Just
like I
seems
said, we would invite interesting people there as a lure to bring in other people.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Moving on. Carney was at the Rainbow Bridge announcing 1,000 new border officers and a number of toughening of a number of responsibilities that the border officers will be doing to combat movement of stolen goods, illegal firearms, and narcotics across the border.
Yeah, I wasn't available for lunch. I'm going to have to take a rain check on that one, Prime Minister Carney. Thanks for the invite, but I was busy at the time. We'll have to catch up at a different time. You'll be back in town sooner or later.
Yes, Dave. Yes, Dave.
Yeah. Don't worry. I told him that the bridges were okay. I had a look at them myself, but he can have a look at them too if you wanted. But he didn't have to bother. But
But again, one of the things that PM's office is talking about is 1,000 new border services agents being created as part of the crackdown upon illegal goods, stolen goods, illegal guns and drugs, and enforce import measures and investigate unfair trade practices. They're talking about recruiting a CBI. They're increasing the stipend for recruitment for the first time since 2025, and they're amending the Public Services Superannuation Act to ensure CBSA officers and other frontline responders receive benefits that reflect the weight of their responsibilities.
So you spend a lot of money on the border, and this is in large part. Now this, I thought it was a way of stroking the Trump administration, showing them, look, we got more border guards, and we're gonna. But this is for the other way around. It looks like they're talking about fentanyl coming into the country.
Yeah.
They're talking about other drugs coming into the country, illegal guns, but it doesn't. When they show you the amounts here, it really doesn't seem like a whole lot. Asked about fentanyl crossing the border, Anna Dasangari, God, the super long name for the minister there, said the impact of virtually every single community, everything in our power. So he's definitely talking about fentanyl coming into Canada, not from Canada into the United States.
Yeah.
You see the scourge of fentanyl has done to our cities and everything like that. So as now he says the border people have they collected 0.12 kilograms of fentanyl, which doesn't seem to be a lot, but we know fentanyl, a little bit of fentanyl goes a long way. But it doesn't seem like they're catching a whole lot, 0.12 kilograms, but that can make somebody a lot of money if they're a dealer, and it can kill a lot of people, just that amount, if it's pure fentanyl. The remainder of fentanyl seizures were export seizures, adding up to a total of 2.48 kilograms. So we can see that it's going back and forth there. There's cocaine come, like it said they own like 0.03 kilograms of cocaine. That's not a whole lot. 0.06 kilograms of methamphetamine, 0.0003 kilograms of fentanyl in another case. But here's where it gets good: 52 firearms, 9 prohibited weapons, 3.69 kilograms of cannabis, and then illegal tobacco. Holy cow! Yeah, doesn't look like they're drinking a whole lot of stuff.
Cannabis might be legal on the streets, but it's not legal across the border.
Illegal cannabis coming into the country is probably not. It's not legal either, because a lot of people complain of, i.e., government dope. Government dope is not good dope. The average person, the average dealer, the farmer, sort of cannabis farmer, the illegal cannabis farmer, seems to still have a better quality of dope. So they say. I'm not sure about that, but in any case, here in these cases here across the border, it's very clear to see that the vast majority of stuff smuggled back and forth are in trucks or other ways of transportation. Doesn't seem to be the day-to-day cargo. Like you see all those trucks coming over from Lewiston, truck after truck after truck. How are they ever going to check all those? They need a tip to figure out what's in one or the other, don't they? So it's very, very difficult. I'm glad they're doing this. I'm glad they're upping the enforcement, particularly when it comes to guns. We have had way too many guns in this country now, and illegal guns, and we got to get rid of them.
Yeah,
like a lot of concentration was on legal guns, like collectors and stuff like that. Since those weapons are very, very rarely ever used in a crime, I think the massive amount of concentration should be on illegal guns and prosecution of those people who do have the guns. They took a lot, like we said before, during Trudeau's era, they took away the mandatory sentence for handgun because, in his words, it affected the minority community more. Like, are you an idiot? Don't you think that minority community doesn't want any guns around?
Yeah, the vast majority, the law-abiding members of that minority community want the guns off the streets as well. They want the criminals locked up.
Yeah, like what a misinterpretation. Oh, well, because these minority kids are more likely to be carrying handguns, we can't. We can't come down that hard on them because it's I don't know, somehow racist to come down on a kid of a minority or anyone from a minority that's carrying a handgun. Yeah. Like that's dumb. Seriously dumb. Like that incentivizes people to carry guns. And you think the minority community, whatever minority community it is, do you think they want that person in there with guns? They want those guns gone.
Absolutely, they don't do. Yeah, absolutely, they do. Right. Okay, moving on. So moving on, Niagara Sleep Cheap reservations start next week.
Yeah, I put that in there just to remind anybody. You can get a Sleep Cheap. I've done it once or twice myself. But it was in my case because my ex worked for the city, and we get even better deal than the average chump on the street.
So 23rd to 27th, reservations are beginning tomorrow, 9 a.m.
Yeah, I'd say look, try to get a nice view. I've been in hotel rooms because I've known friends of mine that have come in and taken rooms there. Of course, I've been there for a couple of conventions. Once a Kiwanis convention, once a Toastmaster convention down that way. It's you get an excellent view of the river. It really is very nice. The hotels themselves are an eyesore, but what you can see from the hotel is really nice. You can see right down the river. I once saw the ice flows coming down the river. I think they just finished opening up the ice boom. Yeah. And I made note of it to the people, my friends there. I said, look down there. You see that white stuff coming? They open up the ice boom. So the ice was coming down the river. It was kind of neat. We could watch it come all the way down to the brink. Yeah. So it was. So it's very nice views. The hotels are quite delightful. So yeah, really take advantage of this. It's a very good opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. And as I say, the Sleep Cheap runs from November 23rd to 27th. And the reservations are open tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. But we say that this time every year.
Yes, and so yeah, it's one of those things that is offered up to the residents of Niagara Falls, and I think you would have a very nice getaway. Just even in town here, you could have a nice little getaway. You can take your family there, use the pool. It would just be a nice experience.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Canadian snowbirds are being fingerprinted and photographed at the US border.
Yeah, this is something that is very, very awkward to me. I think they want to. I think the Homeland Security thing is getting a little bit out of hand. This is another indication of a shift towards authoritarianism. When at one time you could cross the border, stay as long as you wanted, and come back. You could tell them at the border, "Oh, you're going to be gone for a week," and then come back 2 months later. "Oh, I decided to stay a little longer." Nobody's going to bother you. But now you have to be fingerprinted, and the process. Unfortunately, the process is not clearly understood by the border guards, according to this article, which doesn't surprise me. Anytime a bureaucracy has to implement a new law, they don't seem to know quite what to do with it.
And again, I've been thinking back over the fact that I've got a Nexus card, and on my Nexus card, I've already given them my fingerprints, and they've already got my photographs.
Yeah, and on the Canadian side, they got your retinal scan.
Yeah.
There's as much information. So I don't know if a Nexus person has to do that, but I don't think the border guards know exactly what they're doing. As we found out in this article, the couple was advised to go to the border to get all this done. That's the way it was supposed to be done. Once they got to the border, nobody knew what to do. They said, "Oh, we can't do it here." And then just as they were leaving, the border guard says, "Oh, okay, I can do it. I can do it." So he must have made a phone call or two. So he made a couple of phone calls and fingerprinted them. It took them a fair amount of time. So if you're going to go down there for more than a few days, I would suggest that you say you're going to go for 2 weeks, and then once you're down there, say we've decided to stay longer and do the fingerprinting and everything with border services in the States away from the border. It would probably be a lot faster. And that could happen to you too. Like if you're in the States and you say, "Oh, I decided to stay a little bit longer. What do I do?" And then they'll take your fingerprints and all that other stuff there.
It's weird because I've done, because I used to travel. I used to have to get a visa when I first was going to the US, and I've done the fingerprint thing. It's more an annoyance delay than anything else, because you don't take. There's no, there's no the fingerprints on a pad on a on a device.
Yeah, there was. As a matter of fact, I don't see the retinal scans or the fingerprints for that now. Do you? For the because we used to get off. I used to get off the planes and stuff, and then have to put my face in to use that line. To put my eyes in
the Nexus line.
The Nexus line and put.
Well, last time I came into Toronto, there was a Nexus line.
Oh yeah, there's Nexus lines, but there's no retinal scans or fingerprint scans.
Yeah, there was.
Anymore.
Yeah, there was.
There was?
Yeah, the last time I saw. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Because the last couple of times they didn't bother me at all. They just, actually, the last 3 or 4 times I didn't have to do that at all. I only had to do that once actually. Once going and once coming. I had to do the fingerprint going into the States and the retinal scan coming back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I think it might well be different if you've got a Nexus card. And if you're living part-time in the US, which our neighbors used to do, surely they would already have a record of them anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just one more level one more level of bureaucracy. It might be a money grab too, because let's face it, if they're worried about anybody coming in and doing some damage, people could come in for less than a month to do all kinds of damage. So I think they're worried more about. I mean, I think Canadians are included in this because they're worried more about people sneaking in and staying in. I think it has much more. The whole thing has to do much more with other nationals, but they have to include everybody. So in any case, that's what the deal is now. We don't know how that's going to be. It seems to be the United States is more and more paranoid all along, but there are good reasons for that. I think a lot of cases. I think sometimes it's just an overreach what they do, but that's the rules now. So if you're going to go to the States, and I think probably if you looked it up, you might be able to just across the border saying you're going over there for 10 days. Once you're there, you say, okay, I decided to stay longer, and you can book whatever you have to do without big long lineup somewhere in the States. It seems the border guys just don't know quite what they're doing.
It'll figure itself out in time anyway. Because whilst this person, they said they waited in line for 1.5 hours. I'm sure that it will sort itself out once the procedures are well known.
Yeah, like I don't know, they're just not used to doing it, and these pronouncements don't come with any kind of preparation. Normally speaking, when the government decides it's going to do something like that, it gives you a lead time to prepare.
Yeah.
And that was what was wrong with the tariffs and the dockage fees and all that other stuff. They didn't give these people a whole lot of time to prepare, and that's why so much mix-up was happening. Because let's face it, the Trump administration is changing their mind or adding or subtracting things all the time. So anyway, that's the rules. Figure it out before you go. Make sure you're very clear on what you have to do before you go over there. And you're not going to get any kind of hassle because they're not going to really care how long you stay, as long as they know they're going to be over 30 or 29 days, whatever it is. So don't feel intimidated. It's just think of it as just another tax grab, because it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And again, so it only applies to those that are staying longer than 30 days. Yeah.
Yeah. And every year, we all know people that stay there from November until April, and then they come home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And besides which, hey, you can go to your lacrosse game or your ice hockey game or whatever, and the old rules apply.
Yeah, they won't bug me. They won't bug me going to a lacrosse game. As a matter of fact, they were very good. I found the United States border guards better than ever during this whole time with the security of Trump administration or whatever. I found them better than ever. And this whole business about them giving you a real problem with your camera and all that other stuff, that was super overstated. And I have to complain about the left-wing press for doing that. They explode something that may happen, but rarely happens. Oh, your phone's going to be opened up and all that other and blah, 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 blah. But what they won't do in the States is recognize a non-binary person or a person that does not declare themselves as male or female. So those
the irony is they're the ones who created that stupid thing in the first place.
Who?
The Americans. They're the ones who created the 16 genders.
Yeah, it's not only them, it's like everybody. But that was I don't know. I kind of agree with them in this particular case for just because when you have somebody coming in your country and they have women's parts or men's parts, it's much easier to identify. So I think probably the birth sex that you have is put on the passport with maybe a sub note saying no longer identifies or does not identify as a female, but was born female, kind of that kind of thing. I don't know what they're going to do, but if they start putting out passports with all the different genders, I think in New York City they had 58 they thought they should recognize at one time. And I mean, even just the alphabet, the LGBTQ 78, 92, whatever that is, like if you were trying to decipher every different gender for a very small part of the population as well, like that's a very, very tiny part of the population in the first place. So anyway, anyone who has a non-binary or does not identify as either male or female, be warned that will throw up a red flag crossing the border. They may not accept that and turn you back.
Yeah. Okay. Israel basically says ceasefire and aid to resume after they had airstrikes and killed 26 people in Gaza.
Well, we have been suspecting all along that Israel would be looking for an excuse to reignite that war. In this case, and of course, the first excuse was the dead bodies of some of the hostages were not returned. I don't think that was an excuse to stop the flow of food. Well, they did. But in this particular case, somebody killed a couple of Israeli soldiers. Hamas denies anything to do with it. These could have been apparently it would be against Hamas. Hamas would be stupid to do that. So I think it's pretty much agreed upon that there are other actors in Israel, right? Or in Gaza. We found out about the criminal gangs. We found out about the family clans. And we do know, and I have to remind everybody, there were 7 different Islamic groups that crossed that border with Hamas. Hamas was not the only one. It was the major one. So these other groups have held hostages as well. So we don't know who shot the Israeli soldiers, but it seems like everybody paid for it.
Yeah. And Trump is basically saying that, damn you.
Yeah, Trump's got to have a firm hand here. He, like Netanyahu, is itching to get back at it. Netanyahu could manipulate Blinken and Biden very easily. They could do anything they wanted. And unfortunately, Blinken and Biden were very weak. Trump has not been strong in the Middle East up till now, but he's going to have to find a spine and work against Netanyahu. We know the AIPAC and the Israeli lobby is very powerful, and the politicians in the United States don't want to disturb that. As a matter of fact, Newsom was asked about AIPAC, and he looked terrified. AIPAC. I haven't really heard much about AIPAC lately. Big lie. It's been nearly one of the most important stories going on out there. And AOC too. She dodged the question big time. So Trump's got to really walk this very closely. He can't offend his Israeli.
Well, one of the things he said. One of the things he said is he's saying the ceasefire is still in place. He also is saying that Hamas leadership may not be involved in some of the latest issues.
Well, yeah, very clearly. And Hamas structure has been broken down, the communications between one and another. It's part of the reason why they can't find these dead bodies, because, well, one thing, a lot of them are under rubble. We can understand that. But a lot also is the communication between one Hamas group and the other And remember, the Hamas is broken up. It has two, is like the IRA, exactly like the IRA in many ways, because it has a political wing and it has a military wing, just like Sinn Féin had the political wing, the political party, Sinn Féin, and then the IRA was the military wing of Sinn Féin. It's the same sort of thing, and the two quite often didn't cross paths. With Sinn Féin, had to have plausible deniability to any outrage the IRA did.
Yeah. And the other thing is that, remember, they operate as a bunch of cells, and not all cells are connected to one another.
Yeah, it was that way from the very beginning with Hamas. Was a lot of cells. They knew that was harder for the Israelis to sort of figure out who they were and where they were if they were dispersed cells. But I'm very certain that Hamas leadership wouldn't want to kill a couple of Israeli soldiers. Well, what does it cost them? It cost them like 26 Palestinian lives. Most of them are innocents. So it's very clear that no matter what, if one Israeli soldier gets killed, it doesn't matter to the IDF how many people they have to kill to get at one fighter, if they're even caring how many fighters they're going to get. So it's it's a terrible situation there.
All right. Okay, I suspect we've run out of time anyway, so we can kind of call that the end.
Yeah, I'm just kind of crossing my fingers that the ceasefire can continue. Twice now, Israel has stopped the flow of sorely needed aid to punish everyone for what Hamas did. They cut off aid because they couldn't get the dead bodies back. I mean, really punishing everybody because Hamas could not find the dead bodies of the hostages. That's the mindset of the Israelis right now. We're going to hurt everybody, every last little child, for you not finding a dead body. And the same thing happened here when a couple of Israeli soldiers got killed. I mean, they bombed the crap out of places, but also cut off the aid. So we're going to make you starve because a couple of idiots shot at us. It's collective punishment. I think Netanyahu is bumming out that he hasn't been able to push those people off their land. But anyway, I hope it stands for all the problems Trump is having. I hope that he's able to hold this one together. He has no hope of getting a peace prize unless this particular peace plan works. Okay, without further ado, I bid you adieu.